All right, we are moving through this week. It's a wonderful Wednesday, and we've got loads and loads to get to. How's it going, guys?
It is going wonderful. Yes, I love Wednesdays.
Certainly. We're almost there, but let's go ahead and jump into this right away because gripping testimony continued today in the Derek Chauvin trial. More testimony about what led up to George Floyd's death from the store clerk. Also hearing from one witness and what he told Chauvin after Floyd was taken away by an ambulance.
I think I said to him 5 days ago, I told you at the end of the day, go home to your family to say, let the next person go home to their family to say, but the dad got to look at you as a maggot.
We saw you standing there with your hands on your head for a while, correct?
Correct.
What was going through your mind during that time period?
Disbelief and guilt.
Okay. Why guilt?
If I would have just not taken the bill, this could have been avoided.
Today's evidence also included body cam footage, including some from Chauvin's camera as well, which was really shocking to look through. Some of it published beforehand, a lot of it we haven't seen. Brandon Pope also joining this conversation. Brandon, that store clerk testimony really did it for me, knowing that he's part of that, and it's not, by no fault of his own, but setting off the wave of motion of what ends up happening.
Yeah, the store clerk for sure. And what did it for me as well, this is where I turned it off actually, was the man with the glasses, older black man who was a witness to it all.
Yeah.
Seeing a grown older man break down and brought to tears like that, and he said something that really shook me. He said, I wanted to help. And you could sense that he felt bad because he felt like he should have done something. But there's also that terror inside of him in that moment that he can't do anything because of what could happen to him. Because these are police, and there's just a lot of dynamics there that we're seeing and wrestling with. So that was where I turned it off after that. Once he broke down and they cut the trial down after he talked, I couldn't do it anymore. And the trauma, that's the constant theme here they're going to try to portray. And to see the body camera video of them actually on George Floyd's body, that was too much. That was too much.
Yeah, Brandon, I'm so there with you. And too, because of the casual nature at which they seem to be resting in that video, where we're seeing like them kind of hanging out, and the perspective obviously coming from the chest. But and I will say, I hadn't seen the video purposefully in a very long time because it's so disturbing. Mm-hmm. To watch that again and to listen to him call for his mother as a mom myself, that just tears me apart, that you cannot help this person. There's all these people there that wanted to help and they couldn't help him. It's so hard to watch. Today was a very difficult day.
And that man that you brought up, Brandon, an older gentleman, he's probably seen a lot in his life. He's probably maybe even reliving some of his own traumas. To what degree, obviously, we don't even know. But it is what I think many Black Americans are grappling with when they're seeing a video like this. And I think many are choosing not to watch it for obvious reasons, not to rewatch it. The body cam footage, certainly very difficult. The defense is now spending a lot more time trying to provide context around the first video that's been out for so long. They're trying to, they say allegedly he had counterfeit bills that he was trying to use. He was obviously resisting arrest. But the news flash here, that shouldn't be a news flash, is that being a criminal does not mean that you deserve to die. It doesn't mean you deserve to die. At that, a slow and painful death, it's not adding up.
Always these cases are labeled the people versus Derek Chauvin, and prosecutors have it within their authority to try and bring a community to trials. It doesn't really happen all that often, but I think it's a very interesting tactic, using the community's hurt and pain and showing that, well, this was one incident. This is part of a longer systemic problem. Prosecutors often stay away from doing that sort of thing. And watching other trials like this in the past, they try and focus on the details only. But clearly, and I think it's having a huge impact, not only focusing on what happened on that day, but how it made other people feel, how it made other communities feel about the police as a whole. And
Agreed.
I think it's, at least from a viewing perspective, which is we're in the same place similarly to the jurors at this point, seeing most of what they're seeing, it's effective.
Well, it's also like how often does it happen when we have so many witnesses to a slow crime as this one happened? You know, a lot of times these end up being split-second decisions that happen so fast that can't be reversed, and someone has passed away, someone has died as a result.
Right.
And it's like so many witnesses on a public street in broad daylight by city officials, police committed, well, we can't call it a crime, but that's the word that I want to use. I can't legally say that.
Yeah, and it's actually good that you brought that up, because we do need to be fair in our conversation. And I think that today was the first time we saw any defense really from Chauvin, and that was from the body cam footage. He spoke to the older gentleman, we're talking about McMillan, too, and said, listen, we had to restrain this guy. He's big, and clearly he's on something. And so whatever context you put that in, and I am not defending him, I'm just relaying the information. So we're starting to see where their defense, I think, is going. They're saying that, that they didn't know what he was going to do, that they thought he was on something, and they felt the need to restrain him. Now, obviously, what happened and the restraining methods are coming into conversation too. But this is the first time we're seeing really how they're going to try and defend his actions.
This really shows the power of that police body camera video. I mean,
yeah,
there's lots of police departments that are resistant to turning their body cameras on, but it could help you or it could hurt you. But really, it's all about transparency in the end. And having that body camera video there that we saw today in court, I mean, that right there to me is going to be pivotal as we get more, and we're going to see some more body cam video as well from other officers as the case goes on. So I'm interested to see how that unfolds and what role that plays in the case going forward too.
Yeah, is it going to be enough to raise the question as he thought that they were in danger from this man, or is it going to be enough to convict his actions?
But to Felicia's point, this is way different than other trials. Like, this is not the Breonna Taylor situation where you could say, oh my gosh, split second decisions. What do you do? And you can almost, 100%. Maybe some people can say, oh my God, in that situation. This is 9 minutes, but.
And as we've been saying, I don't think, to your point, John, as we've been saying, I also don't think that the public really cares. I think that the public has already decided how they feel about this. So, this community has to brace themselves. I guess the country has to brace themselves if this doesn't come out in favor of the Floyd family.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the activism that we saw building up around the George Floyd case, it now could have a dedicated social media platform. Chicago native Chloe Cheyenne, she developed an app called Community X, and she describes it as a Bumble for activists, meaning you can swipe around and connect to different causes for you. She was inspired by what actually happened to her own father. He was shot by Chicago police a dozen times back in 1989, leaving him permanently handicapped. Well, her new app, Community X, connects you to causes you care about and ways for you to help, like petitions and protests. And it's backed by former NBA star Baron Davis. They say it's all about doing some social good through social media.
When I saw what happened to Mike Brown Jr. and his family, the first thing that I wanted to do was to be able to connect with other people who cared about the same causes as me and be able to unite with them for change. And sort of naively thought, working at Google, that something had to exist, and if it didn't, I could build it there, but found that there was no product available and I had to sort of go out on my own.
As soon as you hit the scene, you already know all the people that you can touch, activate, and be motivated and inspired by. So for me, it's a great investment because it is, it's the leading communicational tool for what we need to do to advance our message.
The Community X app will be free to download on the Apple and Android platforms on April 7th. And Chloe's story, being a Chicago native and a woman of color, amazing. Her father lost his basketball opportunity as well because of that incident with Chicago police. And so for her to, leave a job at Google and activate herself to create this platform for change is pretty cool.
Yeah, so many times, and I've said this too, but we're asking, I don't know what to do to help it. It seems hard, and sometimes we don't have the time to do the hard things. They're going to be like, here, I'm making it easy. Do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the cool part. There's actually... Go ahead, Felicia.
Yeah, I was just going to note that also the social media serves as a place for people to join, and a lot of people get together. It also often times becomes a lot of noise, a lot of politics. This app seems like it's going to separate that and, of course, bring it all together, serving it up for you, like Amy was saying, but kind of killing out all of the noise too, just making it easier for you to access a community and for you to get engaged and involved.
Yeah, lots of potential here because I think as we think about how people organize and protest, it's changed with social media because now the way activists think has to include social media. The way they galvanize their message has to have social
Yeah.
media involved. So to have this there and seeing this groundswell of people now after George Floyd who want to help, now they can swipe right on activities, causes, petitions, all kinds of things. Yeah, it seems, quirky and cute in that sense, but that's what some people need. They need an easy way to do some good, and this might be the best way. Just picking up your phone and being able to do something.
Yeah. And that's a common criticism I actually have when we talk about the public sector, these government organizations, when we talk about the government, when we talk about churches, community groups, like they have to be able to step in. It's nice if they can use some of the resources that the private sector has available. They have to be able to kind of modernize it. You know how I get on my rant about voting, how voting needs to be electronic.
Yes.
You got to modernize it and we have the technology, but nobody wants to invest.
Cool story, Brandon. I'm glad you'll be swiping right on something more wholesome as well. All right, guys, we'll be back after that.
The news you need to know: Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is denying allegations that he had a relationship with a 17-year-old girl and violated sex trafficking laws. Coincidentally, in 2017, Gaetz was the only congressman to vote against a human trafficking bill. He went on Tucker Carlson to clear the air and to attempt to gain an ally.
I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You
just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I'd never met the person.
Actually, you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. Matt Gaetz' interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted.
Oh, man. That man
Wow.
said, that ain't got nothing to do with me, bruh. That was not me. So reportedly,
that was Tucker saying he'll never have him on the show again. Sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
Right. Well, according to the Washington Post, Tucker is allegedly outraged, absolutely outraged that Gaetz even tried to loop him in to the controversy he's involved in. So I guess that's kind of the consequence you get when you invite people like Gaetz and give them a platform all the time on your show.
I gotta say, when I saw those two humans next to each other on the screen, I had no interest in what was happening until they both started talking. And boy, that was some poetic justice for both of them to go through that little ordeal.
Yeah, for like a hot second, I was like, wait, what is going on? And almost felt bad for Tucker. And then I remembered who Tucker is.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what is going on? I'm like, this is amazing. It's like everyone's getting their karma.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he still deserves to put it in context, which Tucker did. I mean, definitely not sticking up for the guy, but he put it in context for himself. It's under investigation. We'll see what happened. But when I hear stuff like this, I do always wonder, and I'm not saying that it exists here, but politics has shown us that usually there is some other underlying political motive. I'm just wondering if there is one and what it could be.
Well, it's a Trump era Department of Justice that started this investigation, because that's what he tried to say, is that he's being extorted and his dad is like recording people that are trying to extort him. Yeah, but that only goes back a couple weeks. This case opened up under the previous administration, a Republican administration with Bill Barr. So I don't buy all that argument. It was like just a race to the bottom of whatever hole those guys came out of in that interview.
I mean, it's like when your friend.
I'm eating the popcorn and enjoying it all.
It's like when your friend is lying to his wife about where he was at, and he tries to involve you in the lie, and you're like, nah, wait a second. Because then that gets me in trouble with my girl. Like, no, wait a second.
This is about you, sir. Let's stay focused.
That was a mentally ill woman 20 years ago, and oh my God, it was so good. All right, we'll move on.
We shall. Okay, guys, some other headlines to talk about here. A statewide increase in COVID cases pushed back Governor J.B. Pritzker's plans to loosen more business restrictions. Today, Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed additional reopenings won't be happening in Chicago anytime soon. The city's averaging about 500 cases of COVID-19 per day, a 69% increase since the start of the month. And the latest federal report on Chicago's police consent decree shows CPD has made some progress, but missed 40% of deadlines involving training, supervision, and recruiting. And the NCAA was in the hottest seat imaginable today, being grilled by Supreme Court justices over student-athlete compensation. The oral arguments surrounded an appeal by the NCAA and 11 major conference co-defendants. Lower courts ruled the org's compensation limits actually violate antitrust laws. Well, many of the justices seemed unified in their confusion over the NCAA's arguments for not paying players, including conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Schools are conspiring with competitors, agreeing with competitors, I'll say that, to pay no salaries to the workers who are making the schools billions of dollars, on the theory that consumers want the schools to pay their workers nothing. And that just seems entirely circular and even somewhat disturbing.
Yeah, you know your your thoughts and your opinions are nutty when people that don't even watch sports, don't even follow college basketball or anything, are like, yeah, this doesn't really make any sense. This is kind of silly. Yeah. But it's worth noting the rules are expected later this spring or in early summer, so this could be a landmark case.
I am very curious to see what that ruling is going to end up being and what kind of support argument they're going to have to support that ruling. They're saying antitrust laws. That usually has to deal with, like my junior law degree tells me, that usually has to do with creating an open and free and competitive market. I'm not 100% sure how that aligns with the NCAA and what they're doing, but I'm also someone who is in support of them being able to get paid. You do the work, you should get paid for it. I mean, especially in comparison to the millions and millions, bajillions of dollars that they are making.
Yeah, and by the way, Brandon's probably talking about me because I'm, not the one who watches all the sports, but I'm like, how do they not pay the students, yes, pay for their schooling, but then you have to do the math to compensate for all the other stuff that you're bringing in.
Yep.
Very happy to see Kavanaugh's.
It doesn't add up, right?
It doesn't add up.
Well, they even brought up in the arguments about how much the coaches' salaries have ballooned to millions and millions of dollars. If I was a student athlete expecting that they're using my likeness, you're going to be getting some money soon. This is going to be 7-2, 8-1 in favor of the players, almost without a doubt. The only justice that even kind of balked at it was John Roberts, and he was just worried that, okay, let's make an exception for these players using their likeness. Now, is there going to be another case 2 weeks later about this specific instance, this specific instance? Because there's going to be a little nebulous situation here about who is an amateur athlete, who isn't. But the lawyer straight up said, yeah, there might be a case 2 weeks later. We got to figure this out. And I think it's really fascinating. Good for the players.
Some important context here. These rules are so ridiculous, even a little bit of change would help, because a player can be penalized just for having someone buy them a meal, just for offering to pay for a cheeseburger that's $1 at McDonald's, just for making a YouTube page and you make some money off of it, off monetization accidentally. You get penalized for that. That's how, just a minuscule change in that rule alone would be huge for these players, because that's ridiculous.
Because isn't that heavily monitored too? Aren't they like, they're like heavy whistleblowers when it comes to that stuff, and they look after that and they stay on top of that.
On the up and up.
Except for the boosters. They don't really whistle. The boosters don't whistleblow all that often. All right. Good conversation, guys. Let's get Krista in here. Hey, KG.
Hey, guys. Good stuff. All right, coming up. Being an ally means creating space to listen and learn. After the break, we're talking to one of Chicago's top docs about gender reassignment surgery. We'll be right back after this.
You know, it has been over 50 degrees for 72% of March, and the Cubs have an opening day tomorrow, and of course it's going to be the coolest day of the month. The wind chills are going to be in the teens throughout most of the morning. Gets better Friday, Saturday, and beyond that, though. Always. Every opening day. Come on.
Every time.
It was so
I just wish I could actually... I just wish I could actually be there for it. I miss going to the game and having the beer and kicking back, having the sun on your face.
Just go. Nice. Just do our meetings on your phone. Yeah, just pretend that the internet's not working.
He's really waiting for the White Sox.
Something about a pandemic. I
Really
just,
not.
I'm not comfortable yet.
Okay, here we
You know
go.
what time it is. All right, what about the opposite sex confuses you the most? Oh, that's a thinker.
Well,
John.
I have
Okay,
one, but I don't know how much about it I can talk on TV.
I got a
Oh,
good one.
yeah.
I got a good one.
Go ahead.
So women are always talking about in relationships, communication is key, right? Communication is key. But then you ask them how they're doing, what's wrong, and they're like, nothing at all. Fine. When we know
that's
good and
because it's
well
random.
Explain
something is
everything to
wrong.
you. That was mine.
You got to
Communication.
I have
a
to
point.
explain everything to you.
You got to a point where you pissed her off, and now she's shutting down. That's completely different. That's the
Is that
I'm
what it
mad
is?
response. Yes.
Right, and it's on you to figure that out. You need to understand that from the nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also,
You know,
again, I shouldn't have to explain everything to you. Put two and two together.
I'll just
I
read your
have-
mind next time.
I have all boys in my house. What is the fascination with the junk? I got to bring it up because
Yeah.
they're all on the junk all the time. Since the day they could get it, they were all over
Hold on to it or you lose it. That's the old
You
theory.
play with it, they grab it. I mean, it's just it's like a toy.
It's a point of pride.
I just don't get you straight people. I don't get it. I don't get anything about women. I don't get like, oh, tell me how you're doing today. Oh, but they won't tell me all of these sitcom tropes. We'll be back.
See? All right, everybody, welcome back to The Jam. Today we are recognizing International Trans Visibility Day. It's a day of awareness for the trans community and its allies. Dr. Loren Schechter, medical director at the Center for Gender Confirmation Surgery at Weiss Hospital, is joining us. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to really jump in right away because, in the last few days, we've seen 3 states now pass anti-trans laws: Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. 28 other states are considering them. What does this do to that community?
Well, thank you very much for having me. And my name is Loren Schechter. My pronouns are he and him. And I appreciate you for bringing awareness to this important issue. This is really preying on vulnerable people, especially adolescents. So these are issues that adversely impact vulnerable people at a vulnerable period in their lives. These bills are not based on science, are not based on good medical principles. They're really wedge issues to further deepen divisions, and they cause great harm. They cause harm as it negatively and adversely impacts people's ability to access medically necessary care.
Dr. Schechter, I know that the conservative talking points make it seem like any teenager who wants to go under the knife or wants to be pumped full of hormones can walk into any place, get it done. The parents never know about it. But the reality of the situation is way different. These are long conversations that are taking place between doctors, parents, and they're important ones that are taking place.
Yes, and that's a good point. These are very considered decisions. This isn't walking in and walking out and getting surgery or hormones. These are discussions, these are processes, these are very well considered, well thought out decisions. And as you've said, they're medical decisions. They're decisions between patients and their physicians and their healthcare professionals.
What are some things that you're trying to make sure you address in this consultation? If you could just kind of take people who don't understand it, if you could bring it to them.
Yeah, so I'm a surgeon, of course, and so by the time most people have come to see me, they've really considered this decision for oftentimes many years, and surgery for some individuals may really be the culmination of their life's journey. We used to see people a bit older accessing surgical care, and that's because there was really significant barriers for people to get care, especially in the United States. Insurance companies didn't cover gender affirming care, so people perhaps had to leave the country. So it took quite a bit of time until people had the means, the wherewithal to be able to access surgery. Now, really since the Affordable Care Act, since 2014, when Medicare removed their ban on coverage for gender affirming procedures, many insurance companies, many government payers, state payers have really followed suit. So people are able to get access at younger ages. And that's been very beneficial. Medically, gender affirming care, whether medical care, surgical care, is safe, it's effective, and it helps also to reduce negative health outcomes. So by the time people have seen me, oftentimes they've been on a journey. For adolescents, it's often part of the family's decision, so a considered decision between the patient, the adolescent, their parents, their caregivers, their guardians, and we're really discussing surgical options and whether surgery is right for them.
Dr. Schechter, I think that for people who are not a part of this community or don't really understand it or question a lot of these laws that are coming into effect, explain to them the emotions that people come to you with and what they've dealt with their entire lives and how important this impact is on their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, we've moved a bit. CARE has certainly improved, and society has certainly advanced over the last decade, to be sure. But these laws or these efforts to introduce this legislation is really detrimental. Oftentimes, individuals are stigmatized, they're victimized, and these laws really do further harm to this vulnerable population. In fact, some of these laws want to go so far as to make it illegal for patients to access medically necessary care. And these are decisions between patients, their families, and their physicians. There's really no place for legislation like this.
Yes.
Dr. Schechter, you're saying do harm, and I just want to put the fine point on it. I said yesterday on the show that this could cost lives. Do you believe that some of these laws are going to lead to teenagers taking their own lives?
I think that's very likely. Suicide is a concern. Suicide is especially a concern for individuals who are transgender or gender diverse. And these laws that prevent access to important care that's, as I said, safe, it's effective, it improves quality of life. It also reduces negative health outcomes, anxiety, depression, suicidality. So putting further barriers in people's ways certainly does no good from a medical perspective.
Absolutely. Dr. Schechter, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's an important topic that we keep discussing for sure.
My pleasure, and thank you for raising awareness on this important day.
Yeah, WeissHospital.com is where you can find more information on Dr. Schechter's services as well. Brandon.
All right, who run the world? News to the tune of Beyonce's.
Wait a minute, that's
That's some enthusiasm.
Like what?
That's all you have for that.
You want me to actually sing it?
Yes, I do want you to sing it. Okay.
Who run the world news? How about that? Is that better?
Thank you.
Listen,
a little bit.
I can only do smooth, okay? And, Beyonce's not the smoothest. But a new report from the World Economic Forum estimates that closing the global gender gap, she is the most fabulous, estimates that the closing the global gender gap will take nearly 136 years. That's up from previous estimates of almost 100 years. They measure that in 4 ways: opportunity, education, health, and political power. So yeah, that global gender gap, definitely a major crisis around the world, not just in the United States of America. A viral tweet pointed out questionable language on Harvard's AAPI mental health resources page. It says, "You may wish that you weren't Asian, but remember that your ancestors likely went through similar or even worse incidents." Well, it's safe to say that tweet sparked outrage, and Harvard has since edited the website without acknowledgement or apology. But wow, the cringe. Ooh.
I thought they were supposed to be smart people over there at Harvard.
And it sounds like the person that wrote that probably hasn't had to survive. They've just been existing.
It's like that squiggly face emoji. That's my only reaction.
Blurg. That's a blurg face.
Definitely the right emoji. The yikes. And lastly, French President Emmanuel Macron has announced the nation will go under a new COVID-19 lockdown, closing schools and banning domestic travel. He says it's important to shut down now during a COVID surge, or else they risk, quote, losing control. Smart move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're having a bad in the EU for sure. And if we don't shape up here, we're going to be going in a similar direction. Yeah.
Yes. Did you guys like the way I said Macron's name? Did you?
I tried to gloss over it.
Well, you said it with an Italian accent instead of a French accent, so I was a little confused, but I knew what you were talking about.
I was a Spanish minor. I don't know French.
I was going to say it sounded Spanish to me.
Let's do a little Hambo's History Nuggets. Ships are moving through the Suez Canal, but a blockage 54 years ago is what we're going to be talking about. So during 1967's, Felicia, don't give me a nod. This one's really cool, actually. During the 1967 Six Days War between Israel and Egypt, a bunch of ships actually got stuck in the canal because both sides were blocked. Egypt blocked both sides so no one could go in any direction. So there were just 8 ships stuck there, and they ended up there for 8 years. They were allowed to get supplies, but the ships had to stay there, including most of their crew. So they all roped up. They formed a utopian society between them. They'd move between boats to do different things. The French boat had this, the Spanish boat had that. They shared their resources. They even held a 1968 Olympics before the actual Olympics. They had different games. Isn't that so cool?
Okay, first of all, let me just tell you, I didn't even listen to 3/4 of what you just said because your intro, you didn't quite enunciate ships blockage.
Oh.
So it made the whole story really funny.
Wait, so
Boom.
why
Thanks for calling me out there, Amy.
why they have to have a society together?
Because they couldn't get out. They were stuck in this little lake in the canal, and they were not allowed to go south. They were not allowed to go north. They had to stay there. So they were able to ship in new resources, but they were not allowed to leave. So they had to form this utopian communist society for 8 years.
I was making it more fun, so you just come to my side. Just listen to my story.
I understand. I don't know which way to go. I don't know which way to turn. You know what this reminds me of, though? It reminds me of that movie Waterworld. Do you remember that movie? And it was just like only
Kevin
water,
Costner.
and you had to live on the boats. Yes, Kevin Costner. See, you should have just explained that, John.
I will never explain a Kevin Costner movie in place of history unless it's Field of Dreams. Let's move on with our lives. Let's get Pope back in here. He probably liked that.
All right, Brandon.
John, this is your chance to make me care about the Suez Canal, and you failed miserably.
Not the
Suez.
Not the
Suez. Ain't no Suez Canal. Not again. Old Suez.
Suez
E
Canal.
before the Z. E before the Z.
All right, guys. Hey, coming up, a historic moment in the world of entertainment. Nischelle Turner is going to share how her past experiences prepared her for the job of a lifetime. We'll be back.
Oh, Nischelle.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Nischelle Turner is making history, becoming the first Black woman to host Entertainment Tonight in the show's 40-year history.
This is Black girl magic, literally, Nischelle.
It has definitely been a moment, and it's definitely been one that I've been trying to stay rooted in and really realize what's happening and internalize all of it. But it is a bit head spinning. It definitely is. And first of all, while we're doing this, can we just get all the pretenses out of the way? Full disclosure, I've known Amy Rutledge half my darn life.
Well, so. I was going to get to that next. I was going to say we were in our early 20s, mid-20s when we worked together.
It was my first job. I took that job in Evansville 3 days before graduation and moved a week after I graduated from college. So we were broke at the time, but we didn't know it. And I think about those days in Evansville and how much fun we had. And like, I loved Evansville, Indiana so much because it was a lot like my hometown, but you know, it's not known to be the mecca of everything, but we made the best of it. We had so much fun, had lots of parties. We all hung together because we were all, you know, young. And we just, you know, we were all starting out in the business. So none of us knew our head from a hole in the ground. Right. And so, you know, we were just all kind of figuring it all out together. And those are the best times.
And I was reading one of the many articles you've been published in as of late and talked about not seeing yourself on TV as a kid and wanting to be there. So you go from this girl in Missouri to there now. How does it all feel?
I mean, it really feels great. I can remember exactly those moments when I did see someone who looked like me, and I didn't see it a lot growing up. But I always felt like I wanted to be that example because I didn't get a lot of it in my life. And when I look at my career and the places that I went, I do feel like I bucked the trend a lot in a lot of different places. And that just feels really good.
I do have one question just about the show and how you guys have been, you and Kevin, how you guys have been tackling everything from last year. You know, the shift is beyond celebrity gossip and celebrity issues. Now you're also talking about social justice issues and responding to this huge shift that we're seeing in the world, in politics, on social media. What has that conscious decision been like? I assume it's a conscious decision.
Yeah, it has been a conscious decision. And I think that it's been a very smart decision. You know, so many times people think entertainment is the toy department, and a lot of times we are. But we also know how, again, what the images you see on television and what you consume really does affect you. So we had to take a hard look at ourselves here too and say, are we being the best version of this news magazine for the world? And so when everything really kind of came to a head this summer, we really said, you know what, we have to be a show for the people and by the people and speak to the issues that people are talking about now. Hollywood got deep at that moment. And so we had to get deep.
I know you said in an article, you know, that you asked yourself this question, is America ready for two Black hosts? What's your answer to that now?
Thankfully, the answer I got was yes. When I was named the host here at ET, I think more people than not said, I thought you were already the host. So it wasn't like this huge surprise to a lot of people. And so that told me that America's been ready for it.
Can we just talk for a hot second about the giant bouquet of flowers that you got from Oprah?
I mean, they're still over here. I can show you how the sausage is made if you don't mind. It'll be over here.
Please.
But they're still over here, and they're like over a week in, and they still look good.
That's because they're Oprah flowers.
Because they're Oprah, the magical Oprah flowers.
I sent a picture of that to Amy because I was like, can you imagine receiving something like that from Oprah? Like, what did you think when you opened up the card and saw who it was from?
Well, okay, so I saw the flowers before I opened the card.
Okay.
And immediately when I saw the flowers, I knew there could only be one person that had sent those flowers, right? And I just busted out crying.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, just so beautiful. It is
amazing.
So beautiful, you guys. To keep up with all of Nischelle's fabulousness, just follow her on Instagram, her handle right there on your screen, Nischelle Turner. So cool. Krista?
What day is it? It's game night. On Wednesdays, we don't wear pink, we play games, and tonight is all about the ladies. Name That Artist is next. And here's a look at the forecast for the next 7 days. Look at that Sunday, Monday, 70s. We love it. We'll be back in 90.
All right, we met Nischelle over a year ago when we interviewed her before her first big job interview, thanks to Kara. And as we wrap up our work attire clothing drive, here's what she said about what donations mean to her and countless others in her position.
There is a place for this stuff, and I am very thankful and want to thank everybody who's ever donated, whether this is something you've continued or this is going to be your first time, and what impact that has not only on myself, but on so many people out there, because through you giving up your time to clean your closet and to take the time to bring it to places that actually will put the clothing to good use, Kara is one of those places. Thank you to everybody who takes that time to do that. We appreciate it.
And we've had a great partnership with Kara and CD1 Price Cleaners. That wrapped up today, but you can donate on your own. This is actually the information for vaccinations, but it leads you all to the same place. CW26chicago.com is a great place to learn about vaccinations or about how you can donate to Kara as well. And we'll be back with Game Night after this.
No. Well, I was also not working on Monday, so I forgot it was Wednesday.
Technicality.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, it's game night. And in honor of Women's History Month, tonight's game is called Name That Artist, Ladies Edition. Okay, so here's how it's going down. You're going to see the title of a song on your screen. It's going to have woman, women. It's going to be celebrating the ladies. You have to name that artist as fast as you can. You have 30 seconds on the clock, and whoever gets the most wins. Are y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with you, okay?
Okay.
Name that artist. Man, I feel like a woman.
Girl. Nope. Next.
There's no pass. You got to guess.
Maybe if you sing it for me. Sing it for me.
It's not part of the rules.
Come on, Felicia.
Okay.
Yes.
Y'all sitting here wasting time. I feel like a woman. I'm trying to. No, I got nothing.
Think a little more country. Go a little more country.
A big
Country.
Easter egg for Felicia. Is that what we're going to see? Man, I feel like a woman. Man.
Shania Twain.
I was nowhere close.
That's a great
Shania
song.
Twain.
I do know that
Shania
song,
Twain.
but I was not going to come up with that name. No.
Now, if we get it wrong, are they going to put up? If we get one wrong, we'll go to the next one, right? So you can just guess any old thing.
Yes, yeah. Just Felicia could have said any name and moved on.
Okay,
but no pass.
Yeah,
Felicia.
Okay.
All
That's
right,
all I'm
John,
saying.
you ready?
I literally had no name to give you.
All right. An Easter egg 0. Not goose egg because Easter's this weekend. John, you're next. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go. Oh, Pretty Woman.
Pretty woman, dun, 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 dun. Oh, honey, honey.
Who sings
the
it?
Beatles.
Name that artist. No.
Okay.
Roy
Tough.
See,
Orbison.
that's tough.
All right,
John
next.
was a kid
next.
when that
Go to the
came
next one.
out.
Go to the next one. He could still win.
Dangerous Woman.
Rod Stewart.
No. It's a little bit more recent.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande. All right, next. She's always a woman. Can you
Billy
get it?
Joel. Yes!
That's the only one I knew, too.
Interesting that John got that one. Interesting that he got that one.
All right, gotta keep moving.
Let's move on. Amy, 30 seconds on the clock. Let's go. Independent women favorite one.
Come on! No!
That's a no. You didn't get that. It's Destiny's Child. Next, your woman. The silence. Anything.
Oh,
Amy.
God.
Anything. 15 seconds on the clock.
Beyonce.
That's a good guess. I don't even know what
that band is.
I'm not a girl, not yet a woman.
I'll say Billy Joel too.
No, Britney Spears.
I have no idea.
That's a good song too.
We're doing great, guys.
That's a great song.
All right, John
Here
has
we go.
one. Everyone else has 0. Brandon, can you beat
Let's do
John?
it.
Let's see. 30 seconds. Let's go.
Totally.
I knew everybody else's.
No
Bob
woman,
Marley.
no cry.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Bob
knew
Marley.
that one.
There we go. Woman's World.
Spice Girls.
No, but good guess there.
Okay.
Next, American Woman.
American Woman. Dun-dun-dun. Lenny Kravitz.
10 seconds on the clock.
Yeah!
He's got 2.
What we got?
Have you
Have
ever
you
really
ever
loved a
really
woman?
loved a woman?
3, 2,
Ooh,
1.
Rod Stewart.
That's
Bryan
a
Adams.
buzzer.
Can I?
But hey,
That was close.
Brandon Pope, you got 2.
And
Congratulations.
I got 1. And neither woman got any women artist guesses there. So on Women's History Month, Brandon Pope, we show up.
I got some of
It's all right.
Felicia's in my head.
It's a difficult game, but Felicia, we got to get you listening to a little bit more Shania Twain.
We did it, Brandon.
That's just a
Clearly.
disappointment.
We
Have a
did
good
it.